Good morning, afternoon, evening. Welcome to Act 1 of Artful in Quarantine, the Sensorium. Whether you're joining us from Palo Alto or New York or Vancouver or Russia or the Middle East, thank you for giving me a reason to wear a dress today and put on some makeup. The first time in about 2 months since I began my isolation or semi-isolation back in early February when this thing was going crazy in China. So let me quickly introduce my collaborators for the program so you can see them, or maybe you've already met some of them. Frank Kilpatrick, a Stanford alum, a seasoned executive and entrepreneur turned musician and songwriter. Reiko Takahashi, who's a musician, singer, and composer. They will be leading the session Act 2 next Saturday. Linda Neyman, Linda Wave. Linda is a world-leading arts-based learning educator for corporate creativity training. She will be leading Act 3 in 2 weeks. You have probably already met Gina, my dear friend from Stanford Lead, where I teach, who's been helping me manage the project. I have also Anu. Where's Anu? Anu Wave. Anu and Daniel, both friends and classmates from the GSB, at the Stanford MBA class. And Anu is here with her husband, Pulen, who's also from our class. Thank you for helping me to make this project a reality. Well, here in our virtual gathering are some other members of the Stanford community, my colleagues from the arts-based learning educator community, and I think some fellow advocates of the STEEP movement, marrying art with science and technology. Hojat, I'm glad that you were able to log on. Hojat sails from Iran, where he promotes the nexus of art, health, and sustainability. I also have some other friends here. For those of you who do not know me from any of those contexts, maybe you're friends of friends, or maybe you're friends from the internet. For the purpose of today, it's enough to know that whatever I do professionally, I'm a dancer in my soul. I see myself as a bird with my free spirit, specifically a phoenix, having gone down in flames at some point in my life and risen from the ashes. My mission at this stage of my life is to help people achieve their highest potential, reinventing themselves if they want to, and to help people experience and create beauty. I want to acknowledge one special guest today. I'm so glad to see him. Nathaniel is 7. He's here with his mom, Dana. Nathaniel, I'm turning all these adults into children today, so you're in good company. Dana, thanks for bringing him. You know, teaching innovation made me realize that companies would be a lot more innovative if they had a children's mindset, if they would be more creative, more risk-taking, they would be more about exploration rather than exploitation. Society and adults in general would be better off if we were more like children. We'd be more inquisitive, asking simple but essential questions. We would be following our hearts rather than putting on a face all the time. We would not be stiffened by dogma or polluted by biases. So Nathaniel, you might be teaching us today, and hopefully we won't bore you too much. Yes, Nathaniel? Do I also have Emma? Emma is one of my favorite course managers at Stanford Lead. You know, my biggest enemy during the lockdown has been AT&T. I have problem with my internet and can't find anyone, a live person to help. So Emma, if I fall off Zoom, please come to the rescue and just sing. Okay, Emma?
I have your back, baby.
Wonderful. Okay, before we begin our program, I'd like everyone to use your pen and paper to write down the feelings and emotions you've had in the past few weeks. And then circle the ones that you still have now. A minute on this. Gina, if people wrote something, you can read out and then I know.
Challenging, curious, overwhelmed, inspired, resiliency, courage, positivity, peaceful, excited, concerned, empathy, grief, anxiety, new horizons, frustrations, sad, depressed, bewildered, disappointed, annoyed. So I think we have a cocktail of feelings.
Yes, we have a gamut of them.
Now pick it all.
All right. Okay. Thank you for sharing those. We will do 2 small exercises before exploring our senses and making some creations. And then after that, after those, we will reflect. Okay. So the first thing we'll do together is breathe, breath. For those who regularly meditate, you can use this time to meditate. For those who do not, we just breathe. But breathe from the abdomen. Take a slow and deep inhale through the nose, with the tummy sucking in all the air as if filling up a balloon. Hold it for 4 to 6 seconds. Then slowly exhale through the mouth, emptying all the air out of the balloon tummy. Get it? Now, sit comfortably, feet on the floor, back straight, hands in lotus position or on your laps. You may want to close your eyes. We breathe for 3 minutes.
Breath. The first thing that greets us when we arrive in this world, and the last thing that leaves us when we depart. The most common thing we share as a species is our breath, and that's what this virus is threatening. Hundreds of thousands of people are struggling with the breath. Let's appreciate the air and the breath. With each inhale, imagine pure oxygen going into your lungs and your heart, replenishing your bloodstream and all your organs. With each exhale, imagine carbon dioxide leaving your body with exhausts, worries, and stress. Continue. Focus on the breaths. When you find thoughts entering your consciousness, just gently push them back and focus on the breaths again. Now, with each inhale, imagine fresh air going into coronavirus patients' lungs. With each exhale, imagine that air leaving their lungs, having done its job. We cheer for their breaths. We are all connected on a grid of air, a grid of spirit.
You may come out. Are you all back? All right, so next we will drink water. Do you have your water glass ready? Okay. This is what we'll do first. I see this glass and I think, this is a wedding present for my failed marriage years ago. I drink while thinking, thank goodness we still have water these days in our lockdown. What do they think of the session so far? So like that, okay? Now you drink your water with whatever thoughts you may have. Okay, now let's drink again, but this time a little differently. So you hold your glass. Don't think of anything other than looking at the glass, looking through the clear liquid inside. Feel its movement as you tilt it. Feel the temperature of that glass on your skin. Move the rim of the glass to your lip and just fill it. Take a large sip. Feel the water in your mouth for a second, and then swallow it slowly. Feel it going down your esophagus to your tummy. And do the same thing again. Was there any difference? What we have just demonstrated with water is two distinct ways of experiencing the world: the narrative circuitry and the direct experience circuitry. The narrative circuitry is kind of the brain's default. We spend 95% of the time, if not more, in this kind of circuitry. It is past and future focused. We'd be driving in the car and thinking, what do I make for dinner? We might be at dinner and thinking, oh, what a horrible day I had at work, or what am I going to do in the meeting tomorrow? Direct experience circuitry is the senses that we get, the raw information that we get from the external stimuli that goes into our sensorial motor cortex. It is life unfiltered. It is the present moment. The analogy of this is kind of like if life is a movie and you're watching this movie and there's this commentator jumping across the silver screen and telling you, oh, this is good, he's bad, she's good, this is what happened, this is what is about to happen, the blah, blah, blah. That is the narrative circuitry. Whereas the direct experience, as I just explained, you're just letting life go by. Neuroscientists identified these systems and identified a link between direct experience and immune function. From their studies, they realized that people who practice direct experience regularly, for example, meditating, have 50% greater immune function. So that experience, or especially meditating, is not only just for relaxation. It has a lot more. What they have validated is something that Eastern philosophies and spirituality have known or practiced for millennia. If life is if this is what we can use another analogy, which is water. So most of our time, our mind is like this, or maybe these days is more like this. With the contemplative practice of whether it's Taoism, Buddhism, or Hinduism, it brings the mind to this. So clarity both in the inner world and the outer world that it reflects. And as mentioned earlier, it boosts immune function. The clear water like this. There are many paths to direct experience. We don't have to be Buddhist monks to have it. Of course, there are more profound paths like psychedelics, meditation, fasting, prayer, or spiritual travel. But for those who are not necessarily that on serious spiritual quests, there are more natural paths, which include the awareness of breath, increased awareness of senses, art, music, and poetry. There's dancing, creative and conscious movement, and there are sports. These are all activities that we can get into the flow, getting in the zone with, really experiencing life as it is. So today we explore breath, the senses. We sharpen our senses. We do a little bit of art and music and poetry, but in the next two sessions, Frank and Reiko will lead us more in music, and Linda will lead us to do more with visual art and the relationship between present and future. We're not going to be doing sports. Well, if the pandemic persists, maybe we'll even do a creative movement dancing session. We'll see. Sports would be challenging, but what I will do today is to lead some physical, small, micro-physical exercises that's based on, mostly based on traditional Chinese medicine. So I may bring up pressure points. Anyone has done acupuncture? Are you familiar with pressure points? Yes? Okay. Yeah. So very quickly, pressure points are derived from meridian points in traditional TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, and India, Ayurveda medicine. Manipulated properly, they help restore energy flow in the body, treat illness, and or enhance wellness. Of course, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not pretending to be, but there are very common ones from my own background that I know. That have known benefits. Okay, time to go into our senses. Again, with each sense, we will have small physical exercises for the sense organ, and then we'll go into sensory experience, the type of direct experience which is tried with water. And then with each sense, I'll give some commentary, the blah, blah, blah. I'll do some of that. Your tip of your tongue to the back of your front teeth, give it a little pressure, and then slide it on top of the roof of your mouth to the back of your throat. Okay, do that 8 times. When you finish, you use your tongue to make initials, name initials in your cheek like this. Your own name and your loved one's names. So on both sides, 4 sets. Okay, you decide whose names you'll be doing. All right, so those are little, of course the tongue is vital for both speech and for eating. And those are the exercises that are good for strengthening the muscles of the tongue. This is for people who have trouble swallowing, or for people who use their voice a lot, like teachers and singers. And of course, the tongue is also for, what is it? Taste, right, Nathaniel? Now, do you have your food ready? This is when we are going to be tasting. What I will do is this. I hope you have an assortment of your flavors, like listed here. So I will demonstrate with my cherry tomato. You put it in your mouth. Don't eat it very fast. You roll it in your tongue first. I mean, with your tongue in your mouth first. Feel its smoothness in the case of this cherry tomato. And then you take a bite. And then you feel the juice and the seeds coming out and the flavors. And then you chew slowly. Pay attention to all the flavors. And then you swallow. Okay, that's how you do it with each item that you have. You can decide the order. For me, the umami of the tomato seems to be the right order. We'll do this for a minute. All right, have you all had your food? Okay, thanks to these papillae on the surface of the tongue, we get to taste. Chinese has a saying that life is like a sauce jar knocked over. It has all kinds of flavors all over the place. By the way, the more bitter foods, which many people don't like, tend to be healthier. Even though it may be difficult, but it's if we practice, it's a taste that can be acquired. A couple of points that I would like to make about taste is that taste is, I know, we all know to eat healthy, and we know that we're not having enough exercise during the lockdown, but there's a connection with mood as well. So stress, sadness, depression, anxiety, and binge watching on Netflix. These can all, or thirst, nostalgia, etc. These can signals, mental states can all be mistaken as hunger. They may make people crave the quick fix of refined carbs offer to boost that serotonin. And this creates a vicious cycle of cravings, digestive imbalance, and a worsening of the mood condition. So something to watch out for. If you chew thoroughly and slowly, not only it releases more flavor, aerating the molecules in the food, and it tastes better, but it also makes you more sated with less quantity. So more quantity, more quality, less quantity. Closely related with taste is smell, which is taken from the nose. I do have a quick exercise for the nose with pressure points. If you put your index finger next to the nose of your nose, about 1 centimeter away, you can feel a little dimple. So you press on that for about 20 times. This is an exercise that prevents, or soothes runny nose or nasal congestion caused by colds and flu. It won't prevent the coronavirus, but it does help with common colds. Hopefully you have some spices and scents, and let's smell it. What we'll do is, let's see, for example, I have this wine. Hopefully yours, or it can be coffee depending on the time of the day. And hopefully it hasn't been sitting out for a long time. But what you will do is you will just experiment with the smell. By the way, with these sensory exercises, except for the vision, it may be helpful to close your eyes so that you can focus on that one sense. You can experiment moving the glass closer or further. You can take a deep, strong inhale, or sometimes you just inhale with relaxed breath and see difference see if any differences. When you're done with the coffee or the wine, you're allowed to drink it. And then we'll move on to some of the other scents and smells, scents and spices. So with each item, you will do the smelling like that. We'll do it for a minute. I got, excuse me, I got some essential oils. I got some allspice. Hopefully you have something similar. And when you're done with each one of them, you try to bring them all together so that your nose can smell them all. And see if you can detect in this mixture, this potpourri of smells, you can still tell which is which. How are we doing? By the way, I just noticed that DP's kids are here too. Welcome, I didn't know that you guys are here. So, we've just smelled a bunch of things. Some may know that smell is, unlike the other senses, it is strongly associated with memory, because unlike the other senses, which require the permission permission from the thalamus to go into the amygdala, which is the seat of emotions, smell goes directly to the amygdala, bypassing the thalamus. So it's closely linked with memory. And it's also highly emotive. Losing one's sense of smell can result in the loss of an important sentimental pathway. And that's why it occurs with Alzheimer's patients. About 15% of COVID-19 patients doctors have realized that they have anosmia, the loss of smell. It's not known yet whether this will be permanent, but if it is, it would be unfortunate, because anosmia sufferers can often feel isolated and cut off from the world, and experience this blunting of emotions. We take for granted these senses, but you will feel it, when after you lose it. The smell loss can affect one's ability to form and maintain close personal relationships, and can lead to depression. For people my age group and above, or maybe even younger, I didn't quite know this until recently. The human olfactory powers degrade as we age. It actually peaks in the 30s. So it could gradually degrade to the point where people cannot detect the odor of, foul food or a gas leak. So we want to practice our sense of smell. All right, next up is hands. So again, there are lots of pressure points on our hands. I won't go through them, but with the lockdown, one thing is that fortunately we have technology to still work remotely, and I'm able to have this play session with all of you today. But our excessive use of devices and the phones and the computers is taking a bigger toll on our hands and digits, fingers. So we'll do a bit of an exercise to give it some release, all right? So the first one, you hold your elbow, and then you just rotate your wrist. Counterclockwise, clockwise 8 times, counterclockwise 8 times. And then the other side. Now our fingers. Remember the breathing exercise. You inhale while doing this, folding in your big thumbs and the other fingers. And you exhale, blowing out all the air while expanding, opening the fingers. So, get it? We do it 8 times. We can also do something more fancy, like the flores or flowers in flamenco dance for women. Or for men, if you don't want to do that, you can play like jellyfish. Or something else you can think of to practice and loosen your fingers. So flores or jellyfish or something else, whatever you would like. Those are the little exercises that you can do at home to prevent carpal tunnel syndrome or thumb injury from device overuse. Of course, the hand is the most representative organ for touch. Hands are not the only thing we can touch with. All of our skin, the integumentary system, can feel the touch. There are different kinds of touch. There's intimate, healing or therapeutic, curious, exploratory, aggressive, or painful. Of course, we are now highly, severely restricted with our touch right now. Our touching with the hands is a taboo. But in the safety of our homes, let's touch like crazy because we need touch. So what we'll do is I know we have couples. So the couples, I would like you to do this. You will touch each other's hands. You just hold your hands and touch and stroke the other person's hand. And then when you're tired of that, you can give each other massage, shoulder massage. The husband gives wife more of that. For those of us, by the way, PDA is entirely appropriate in this session. Okay. There are also people who don't have their partners here, and because they are have to take care of their kids or busy with something else. There are also those who maybe don't have partners at all. Don't feel bad, I don't have a man either. For those of us, you have your flower, right? We try feeling the texture, the skin touch with a flower. So you just play with the flower, feel the texture for a while, and then you fill it with water and start to make a dough. In that process, the texture will change, the consistency will change. Eventually it becomes a dough. It will be a very different texture. So all in this process, be attentive. Remember how you tasted the water, how you drank the water, tasted, smelled. If you want to close your eyes, you can, and just make a mess. So we'll do this for a couple minutes. All right, where are we at? I'm sure whoever is getting the shoulder massage would like to have more. All right, those who are playing with dough, if you want, you can have a quick, I don't know, you wash up if water is closed, or wipe it on your jeans or something, and come back quickly. All right, so the touch of the hands are not just practically functional or tactile. They actually have emotional and social functions as well. Skin and skin contact is vital for mental, emotional health, and of course, physical health. It reduces stress, allowing the immune system to work the way it should. study have found that a romantic partner's touch can relieve pain. And in social settings, we hug and we shake hands. It's crucial for bonding, for building healthy relationships, and it tackles loneliness. There are people who can be touch deprived, and that can contribute to loneliness. And so during the quarantine, we have drastically reduced our touch. So we should be conscious about it and increase the touch that we need, sitting close to loved ones and giving plenty of affectionate touch. The ones who are alone, take long and hot baths, or wrap up in blankets, or even holding on to pets. All right, so we've gone through 3 senses. Now it's some poetry time. I would like to do a little bit of experiment, but Anu, did you have a quick poem that you wanted to share with us?
Sure.
Just read it out.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you, BeiBei, for this opportunity to have my first poetry reading ever. I'm going to read 2 very short poems. These are poems that I wrote about a year ago. And it's interesting, when you asked me to read today, I was looking through my list, and these 2 stuck out at me as poems that sort of really reflect what I'm sort of feeling right now. So that sort of initial, during the first week, like just literally crashing to the ground, and now sort of being beyond that and starting to kind of come out of that. So 2 short poems. The first one is called Believe, and the second one is called Immerse. So I'll start with Believe. In a moment, life can shatter 1,000,000 pieces, air, bones, matter. Tears stop so hurt can flow. Does anyone know where broken dreams go? Pause, melt into the ground. Breathe until it's the only sound. Believe in magic just around the bend. Light is found where darkness ends. Begin where you are. One step at a time can get you incredibly far.
Wonderful, thank you. That was very well written.
Thank you. Can I read the second one?
Sure.
The second one is called Immerse. Glittering in the sun rests a pot of clay, seducing your hands to have their way. Slithering, soft to the touch and warm, beckoning at you to create its form. Listen before you start, take it all in, then dive in and build with your heart.
Oh, those are beautiful. Thank you for sharing those, Anu.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So Anu loves to write poetry, and I don't know about the other people, and I'm not, that may sound challenging to you, but what we'll do is something a little easier. We will do a haiku. We'll do haiku style. So haiku would be just 3 lines of 5, 7, 5 syllables each. Haikus focus on single subject, and haikus are very vivid, sensorial. They're not abstract or conceptual. So all the senses that we have just gone through, they should give you some material. Haikus don't need to rhyme, and they can break logical rules. So you don't have to write as beautifully as Anu did, a real poem, but we try haiku. And we tried, well, let me give you some examples for those who are not familiar with it. So we just had food. So here are some haiku about food. If you love someone, hold the sugar and flour, try kisses instead. Boyfriends and brownies, two things that never last long. I eat them both up. The kitchen is his for creating her dinner, eaten together. Tender artichoke reveals its succulent heart to prying fingers. Okay, so those are haiku about food. And now haiku about coronavirus have been, people have been writing those. Kids at home all day, work or not, doesn't matter. Gentlest suds on toe, warm water on clavicle, hot bath on work call. Sound familiar? Pandemic declared, Trader Joe's tortillas gone. Funny, also not. An introvert's dream, perhaps. Uncertainties, fear, loss, no dream here. So what we'll do, we'll experiment a little bit with collaborative haiku writing. I will break everyone into
9 groups, please.
All right, so 9 rooms would be 3 participants per room.
That's
so
perfect.
Each one of you will write, someone starts with the first line, someone with the second line, someone with the third line. And then someone try to record your dream, your poem, okay? You can, if you don't want to write it down, just take a picture and take a picture of it. Are we ready? You'll be randomly assigned to these rooms. Who else would like to share?
Nathaniel has something, right?
Oh, Nathaniel, okay, go ahead.
You want to share, him?
Okay.
Yeah, I did this in my spare time.
Oh, wow.
This is a mindfulness poem. It goes like this. With this breath, my mind grows stronger, so I can focus a little longer. I breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. That's what focus time is all about.
Well, that's amazing.
Wow, that is beautiful. I love it. Wow, you're so
shame.
All right. Well, for those of you, we don't have the time, unfortunately. How many people came up with a poem? How many groups? 5 minutes. You came up with poems. Wonderful. Yes. Okay. So please have them and send them to us. Okay, later on. So we come back to our senses. So the year. Okay, how do I do this? The year has lots of pressure points as well. It has lots of pressure points. The year is kind of like an upside down baby. It's associated with lots of different parts of the body. What we'll do is do this. So we just use your 2 fingers like this. You just use the thumb and the index fingers to massage the ears with this rolling or twisting motion between the fingers from the top to the bottom and from the helix rim towards the ear canal. Your ears should feel warm after a while. So you can do this more later on. Another one, quick one, just for the ears is this. You press your palms against the ears and you use the index and middle fingers to snap against your head behind the ears. You should hear the bang, bang when you do that. So this second exercise directly benefits hearing, but of course you have to do it regularly. The ears are, of course, for sound, nature sounds, music, etc. And of course, there's noise sometimes. What we want to do now as an exercise is to listen, not only to hear, but also to listen, actively listen. You close your eyes. First, you listen to the ambience in your room, white noise or whatever else there might be there. Is there anything you didn't hear before? And then you listen to something that I play for you and see what is it. That was the sound of rain I recorded a couple of weeks ago, and then some yoga groove. Next up, the last sense, with our eyes. The eyes, again, have lots of pressure points around them. This slide shows some of them. And here's an eye exercise. You use your thumbs to press against your temples, and the outside of your index knuckles here to scrape across your eye sockets along the upper half or the eyebrows, and then just below the bottom. Give it some pressure. You should feel the points as you scrape across. So one upper, one lower, one upper, one lower. Close your eyes and do 4 pairs of these. There's a whole set of exercises like this, which we used to do when I was growing up in China. As school children, we all had to do this, these eye exercises in the morning between classes, and sometimes in the afternoon as well, to prevent nearsightedness. Unfortunately, they no longer do this, but these are really great exercises for when your eyes are tired, to give them relief. As we mentioned, we use eyes for sight, visual perception of the world, the light, shapes, colors, forms, nature, animals, the built environment. We also use the concept as a metaphor. We associate the eye with vision, maybe not something we see visibly, but an idea or a mental image of something. So now we will do some looking. We will just look at something. What could that something be? Well, it could be, if your windows are close by, you can just look out and look at the atmosphere, the color temperature of outside, if it's daytime. These are different times of the day and different weathers outside of my window that I took picture of. You could also look at something that's an object in your house. Well, these are outside of my house. These are plants. My parents both are very into gardening, and I never paid attention before, but during the lockdown, I kind of noticed these really interesting patterns, and I got fascinated with these patterns. So these are my little drawings to study those patterns. So you don't have to go outside. You can just pick some object and look at it for, let's say, 3 minutes. After maybe a minute, if you find yourself not being able to focus, you use your paper and pencil and draw that thing to see if that helps. All right, terrific.
Is that a
Lovely.
flower pot? Nathaniel. What did you draw, hun?
Tree. It's a tree.
A
It's
tree?
a tree. Okay.
What's the name of the tree? Do you
Wonderful.
know?
What's the name of the tree?
No?
We don't know the
Just
name
a
of the
tree, right?
It's a pokey tree.
It's a pokey tree.
Oh. Okay, anybody else who's proud of what they drew rather?
True. Wonderful. I'm so impressed that someone actually came up with the drawings. I would love for you guys to send us the poems and continue to work on your artwork. Here are some inspirations from from Gina and Daniel. These are their works. I'm going to have you just quickly share with us, you know, what your relationship with art making is as a creative and emotional outlet, and especially at this time during the lockdown, how it affected, you know, how it manifested. So Gina, would you go first?
Sure. Well, it's been my life savior. When everybody was stocking up on toilet rolls, I stocked up on canvas. I've been wanting to paint for the last 6 months and I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I didn't have the mental space. And I've found that because I'm stuck home and there's absolutely nothing else to entertain myself with, I felt quite creative, and I literally cannot wait to wake up in the morning and get back to my paintings. And I've never taken an art class in my life, nor have I taken a drawing class. So this has been super therapeutic, and it's just an amazing outlet to let all that creative energy that I cannot express it in any other form come onto canvas. So it's been really amazing, and I think it's great to experiment. You're never gonna get it right, but that's the point of art. There's no right or wrong way. It's just a way to express yourself, and just there's no judgment around it. I love it, absolutely love it.
Yeah, exactly. There's no right or wrong. Thank you, Gina. And this is Daniel. I think these are works that he did during this time.
So hi, yeah, so much like Gina and New, I've found that making art has been just an extremely important creative and emotional outlet for me. I started on March 1st when there was, the growing global concerns about the virus and the stock market was crashing. And I started thinking about how I would respond to that. And one of my first impulses was to think about creating more art. And since then, much like Gina, I've been on a creative tear. I've created, I think, over a dozen new pieces, which for me is kind of, 6 or 8 months worth of output under normal circumstances. All of them address my feelings and emotions about the quarantine, either directly or sometimes, more subtly. My work specializes in digital images that are brightly colored, they're abstract, and they have a strong abstract expressionist kind of flair to them. So I take colors and textures and compositions and play with them until I can express what I'm feeling inside. So you'll see 2 images there. The one on the left is called Peace and Anxiety. And it's really the blend of emotions that I have about the current circumstances. There are days when I feel peaceful and I can cope with it. And you kind of look at the top half of the image and you see sunlight reflected on the waves. But then there are days when, things are hard and I think about what my kids are missing out on and it's just tough. And you look at the lower half of the image and you get a sense for blood on the water. So it's really that blend of emotion. So depending on, where I am that day, it kind of expresses everything. The one on the right is called Tiny Worlds. If you look at it closely, you can see all these little globes or blobs that have all these interesting, contents inside, almost like little snow globes. So in a way, it's just supposed to be fun and frivolous and happy, the bright colors and everything. But on another level, it's a metaphor because if you look at those separate globes, they're physically separated from each other. So it's almost like each little globe there is its own little universe, and that we may be connected digitally, but we're no longer connected physically. So thanks, BeiBei.
Thank you, Daniel, for sharing that. Exactly, this is art making is about expressing our emotions. You don't have to be as sophisticated as Gina and Daniel. This is what I attempted after, you know, these things in my house, and it came to this. The lower right corner is especially a failure. You can see that I got completely lost in my mom's succulent. What I did was, I had no idea whether to start from the center outward or the other way around. I didn't know how to do the shadows and the 3 dimensions. So it's completely flat, and I call this the succulence of all of my failures. It doesn't matter for for me. It is it's a meditative practice. So I want you to continue to work on this, and there is no right or wrong. Just start the process, and in a couple of weeks, Linda can take us through such exercises and more, a lot more. If you don't want to do, you know, what I'm doing, kind of too much trouble, you can always just use your lines and shapes and colors, express the emotions that you have written down earlier on your paper, right? So, because these are, you can maybe in a week you become Kandinsky or Miro or Magritte. Basically, you know, these are so simple, just some lines and shapes and colors, right? What you could do is to either do it for yourself or for some loved ones. I did my series actually as a to honor my parents. I always complained about all of this stuff that they have around the house. My mom probably has hundreds of succulents, but then I started to appreciate, and that's my little present to express my feelings for them. So you could do something like that. You could do something, you know, your artwork can be about the situation. It's all up to you. Why are we doing all of this? You may say all these exercises are so silly. They're frivolous, like the word Daniel used. There's a world out there in crisis. People are dying. I have far more important problems to deal with and decisions to make as a leader, like quite a number of us. Isn't this what we did useless? So here is a perspective from neuroscience. Our brain has 3 parts. The reptilian brain is the oldest, which governs our survival instinct, the fight and flee. There's the middle brain, the limbic brain, which is our emotional center. It feels and interacts with others. The neocortex is the newest, which we humans developed. It gives us the ability to think, to talk, to create, and to learn, etc. The prefrontal cortex, or the PFC, is where high-level thinking takes place. For example, the deciding, the understanding, the memorizing, etc. The planning and strategic thinking and problem solving, which business people pride ourselves in, take place in the PFC. But the problem is the PFC is very small, only about 4% of the brain's volume. It is energy intensive and it is serial, whereas a large part of the brain's processing takes place in the non-conscious, the other 2 parts of the brain. And when those other parts are aroused, the PFC is constrained. That's why we need clarity of the mind. Direct experience regulates emotions and helps free up energy for the PFC so it can be more effective. Another way to look at it is the impact of a threat response. When we respond with a threat orientation, it triggers cortisol release, cortisol, the stress hormone. Our field of view narrows, our cognitive ability reduces, we're definitely less creative, and we're not good at collaborating with others. Whereas if we have more of a vision or positivity orientation, it increases dopamine release, the reward and pleasure chemical. It widens our perception field of view. Our cognition increases. We are more creative and more likely to have flashes of insight, which helps come up with better solutions for problems. We collaborate with others better and make better decisions. The last point I'd like to make, coming back to the situation we're in now, is perhaps a controversial one. It's a personal view, and I'm not intending to convince anybody about it. I subscribe to Taoism, which I'm, one of the ancient philosophies that I mentioned earlier. Taoism believes in the harmony between man and nature. We're all one. It believes the oneness of human and nature. Human is a microcosm of the larger universe. That harmony requires the balance between the yin and the yang energy. Life or anything has energy. That energy has two poles, the feminine and the masculine, or the yin and the yang. Just like batteries have two poles. You can't have one without the other, and there's always one embedded in the other. This is not exactly gender, although there's strong correlation. For example, as a woman, I certainly have feminine energy, but I have some masculine energy as well. The masculine is about day, fire, heat, heaven, sun. The feminine is about night, water, cool, earth, the moon, and the soul. The masculine or yang is about proof through logic. It's about doing, judgment. It's rational, time conscious. It's linear, about the details. You take a look at the view and you count the trees. Whereas the yin is about feeling, creativity, receptivity, intuitiveness. It's looking at the whole picture. It's about timelessness, the patterns, images, and symbols. It's about senses and emotions, and it's a sense of meaning and purpose. Modern societies are a lot more characterized by the yang energy, the masculine, maybe also adults in general, whereas the ancient cultures are more about the yin, proof through experience. It's more children versus adults as well. In my opinion, our world has been excessively dominated by the yang energy, and it's entirely out of balance. Of course, we need all of those on the left, but the world can only get better if the yin energy gets its place as well. Like I said, human body is a microcosm of the universe. We have a lot of heat inside causing diseases, just like global warming or climate change of the planet. One is reflecting the other. There's a severe shortage of the yin energy. What we did today is honoring more, on the right side, the senses and emotions, the feeling, the creativity, and just more being rather than all of the doing that modern cultures emphasize. To me, of course, this coronavirus is a crisis, and I feel very bad for the people who are affected. But I think this is also a signal and an opportunity for us to experience the yin, the feminine energy, to reconnect with it and begin to restore that balance. This opportunity, of course, can only materialize if we see it and take advantage of it. Otherwise, I believe if we just all go back to normal, it would be a big crisis gone wasted. So I really appreciate your coming today. I know we're behind on time. For those who have stayed, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, your questions, your reflections, anything.